Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. And let me first say hello to my peeps. Welcome aboard, Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Welcome aboard, Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Welcome aboard, Michael Rutnan from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. Wait a minute. Where are all my peeps? Where are all my peeps? I guess they're just chiming in now. As they chime in, I'll salute them. But you know, I like to salute them up front, etc. And you know what Bridge did this morning? Or this afternoon? I haven't even gotten a chance to start the program. Bridge wanted to make sure that I was not going to miss her commentary. My dear beautiful Bridge, of course I didn't. And here it is on the screen to start the show. So, Bridge, you start the show today, beautiful. And it goes like this. So you think the woman of color got a leg up because of her race, but the billionaire's son who inherited $400 million just earned his way? You're a special kind of stupid. You know, Bridge, that's a damn good one, girl. That's a damn good one. I like that one. Let me see if I can position myself in the right space with this stuff here. I wish I didn't have to move the chair like that because of the camera and all that good stuff. But, you know, I got to do what I got to do. All right, folks, how's everybody doing? I trust that you had a good weekend. And Bridge, I also got, three of the shirts are alike. Two of them are alike. You can't see the difference between the dark blue and the dark black. The others is a kind of stuff that's different, but this one is gray. And since for some reason some of you thought I was wearing the same dirty shirt every day, as opposed to having an entire plethora of polos, I decided to change today, and I threw out the other four dark ones. Actually, they have to be washed. Just so that you guys know we have other uniforms for the show. Is that all right with you, Bridge? I await your answer, my dear sister. All right, anyway, we got a great show for you today. Actually, we got a lot of material. We're only going to cover 3 of the videos that I did over the weekend today. We have some more for tomorrow, etc., 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 etc. Anyway, I want to start the program this way, but I really wanted more people to be on before I went into this narrative. So I'm going to dilly-dally a bit with what Michael Rudnan wants me to talk about first, which says, Washington Post, Trump faces backlash for in 4 years, you don't have to vote again, remark. Some Democrats say his comments directed at Christian audience signal his plan to be a dictator. Stephen Levitsky, a professor of government at Harvard University and co-author of Tyranny of the Minority, Why American Democracy Reached the Breaking Point, also said that while he didn't think Trump's recent comment was indicative of an organized plot to end elections in the United States, it did represent yet another sign that this guy has got authoritarian reflexes. Over the course of 10 to 15 years, Levitsky added, a growing number of Republicans convinced themselves that they weren't going to be able to win elections in this way, multiracial America. I am not sure that's true, but they were deeply fearful that was true, And so Trump, I think more than anything else, he senses where they are going and where they are feeling. And let me tell you something. It is silly. These guys are so silly to sit back and believe that if you make the Republican Party a white party, a party that only caters to one kind of folk, a party that's a supremacist party, then you won't have the majority of Americans because that's not who the majority of Americans are. The reason why Republicans are overrepresented in the Senate, overrepresented in Congress, is because of a constitutional defect. The Constitution is severely defective. It doesn't allow for true democracy. And what are the defective parts of the Constitution? Gerrymandering, a huge defect that you can pack. If you have a state that is, let's say, 50, 70, 30, you could pack a whole district with a whole bunch of Democrats and spread out everybody else in the other district and give a semblance of democracy, but in reality, you don't get it. Other defects. Why does North Dakota get the same amount of senators as California? California has more than 10 times the amount of people, 20 times the amount, 40 times the amount of people. Why? Constitutional defect. You were compromised. The average American citizen was compromised when they made the deal. You were compromised. And we can go item after item that the president has to be elected by an electoral college and not majority vote. What is that again? Constitutional defect. The Constitution is defective for a democracy or a representative democracy because it doesn't represent. That California has 2 senators and North Dakota has 2 senators, there's nothing representative about that. It's a constitutional defect, and as opposed to singing glory, glory, hallelujah, these founding fathers were infallible. No, they created something to maintain their power. That's just how it was then. That's what they did. Let's be honest about it. And we have different structures that we're trying to. The popular compact, the popular vote compact is one of the things that we are putting together to try to solve that problem, where states can make a deal that, whichever 270 states that add up to 270 votes will vote the direction of the popular vote. So that's what we're doing right now. And I have some interviews that I did at Netroots that point that out as well. So anyhow, by the way, we're getting throttled again. If you notice, our account, both on YouTube, TikTok, etc., Twitter is down. So what I'm asking all of you to do right now is click that like button. We need to push that algorithm. All of you that are on, if you're on TikTok, or rather, if you are on Instagram, or rather Twitter, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're on, or rather, retweet if you're on Twitter, and also like it, love it. If you are on Facebook, please remember to go ahead and like it and share it. And on all the platforms, please share. We have to manually do this stuff, else we get throttled. And how do they throttle? AI can know what we're talking about. AI knows exactly what we're talking about, and it tries to minimize coverage. They're not going to tell you that. But when I look, I did some tests over the weekend with the way I put some stuff. They like to call it SEO. It's not really SEO. It's information suppression. Don't be fooled by that. It's information suppression. All right, let me put Bridget's other piece on the screen, and then we can continue to move on. All right, Bridget, here it comes. There it comes, I think. Well, it didn't come. Let's see. There we go. I think that's what you wanted, but it's not on. Come on. There we go. There we go. How does it feel to be hired just because of your race or gender? And wait, I have to set it up for the people that are on, for the people that are listening on podcast. there's a white man sitting at a table, and there's a black woman sitting at the table. And the white man says, "How does it feel to be hired just because of your race and gender?" And the black woman chimes back to him, "Please tell me." Because it's amazing for the people who attack DEI don't see the converse. And the converse is that if DEI is necessary for people of color in many instances to get equal access to the workplace, that means because of their color and gender, others have been rewarded with access to employment. And I'll tell you something, Bridge, I had never seen it said that way in my, again, and I think that is prescient. That is prescient. All right, now we have more people coming in. We've got Peggy Lopez, La Preciosa de California. How are you doing, Peggy Lopez? Welcome to Politics and Right. We have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Melanie, how are you doing? Beautiful. We also have in the house, I'm scrolling up to see if I see anybody else. May Wood from Long Beach, California. And I think that's the other new entries that we have since I called out everybody. Okay, another one from from Rudnin. 30-second video. Here's a transcript. Christians get out and vote. Oh, I don't have to do that because I have it ready for you guys. I made sure to get it ready for you. So here is what you're looking for, Brother Rudnin. And this one I had in mind, you in mind when I made it. So let's go ahead and play it. Donald Trump at Turning Point Action. How do you know the wannabe autocrat, the wannabe dictator's mind is failing? I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't think logically and he exposes himself. I want you to listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
So, yeah, he comes out and he's panicking now. He wants people to go out and vote. He wants Christians, as if Christians only belong to Republicans, right? He wants Christians to go out and vote because he thinks that he owns the Christian votes. What he means is that he owns the evangelical Christians that he purchased, that whose leaders he purchased. That's what he's talking about. He wants them to go out and vote. And he couldn't stop there. He couldn't help himself. His mind doesn't work right. So what does he say? You got to do it this time, but you don't have to worry about it 4 years later because we are going to have it fixed so well that voting is going to be unnecessary. The autocracy will be complete. Okay, look, this guy, I won't use the name. This guy has an issue. Yes, he wants to be an autocrat, but he doesn't really have the mental capacity to be one. But the problem is that the people that are working with him, around him, all the people that will be actually doing the governing, they do. So when you're electing him, we know he's the useful you know what. But when you elect him, what you're doing is electing a group of folks who actually want to inculcate that dictatorship in America. Don't be fooled. We need a landslide. We are working towards a landslide on the Democratic side. We have got to completely expunge the MAGA leadership and ensure that they never get a chance at rebirth because they represent a clear and present danger to the United States of America. All right, folks, let me go back here and point out, and let me put Bridget's stuff back on the screen. Let's see real quickly, how do I get her stuff back on? I like the first one as well. Yeah, there we go. All right, let me go ahead. Michael Rudden says this is kind of insane. Out in the open, talking about ending elections while making the blatant commentary. All right, let's go to Brother Brackens. My dear brother Ray, talk to me, sir.
Yeah, brother. I had saw that clip on Twitter about a few days ago, and I just say I was utterly disgusted that this creature. I appreciate you, Egberto, because you're a lot more censored and filtered than I am. But it's hard to even describe that individual as a human. But yeah, he's basically declared that yeah, if you get him elected in 4 years, you won't have to worry about it. And what sickens me is whenever I talk to so-called independent voters, aka I call them lazy people that don't want to take their civic responsibility. I tell them what this MFer, and y'all could fill in the rest what that is actually up to. And they're like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just run my business. And by the way, they're social media influencers. Let's call them that. They'd be like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna make my money. Blah blah blah. Y'all are tripping. Y'all are taking it out of sorts. It's gonna be just fine. And meanwhile, it's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna worry about you. I'm gonna just get to work. That's all. And they really and this person was and by the way, this person was a transgender person of color who I had this conversation with, who had probably the most to deal with, but their mind is so poisoned with everything else that they're going through. They're like, well, if black people suffer, it won't matter to me because we've been suffering forever. It's not going to make a difference. But I tried to, I tried to push this point to them, and the point that I was trying to make is crap rolls downhill, if you know what I mean, and
Exactly.
they would
Let me
definitely feel it.
Ray, let me ask you something. This person that you spoke to, how did the conversation start? Were you trying to tell, what were you trying to tell them when you started the conversation?
It was a casual conversation. I'm still working on my delivery, Egberto. This
Hmm.
person lives in Atlanta, by the way. They don't live in Texas, but it's a similar, they don't have many rights out there as well,
Right.
when you talk about the state legislature. So, they were saying that, well, I had been dealing with, so and so people, and it was the white man who helped me. I'm like, look, I'm not saying that white people are not good. Joe Biden was a wonderful white ally. And just to speak quickly on that, that man is a true patriot because he sat there and said, look, I would love to sit here and do this job, but it wouldn't be fair to you all. And he knew the writing was on the wall. The Democrats had already poisoned the water. The donors had poisoned the water. He said, I'm doing something that I know is necessary, but it's best for the country. And Donald Trump would never have the gall to do that,
Right.
And one last thing, I'm gonna switch it back to you. I ain't trying to take over, but I miss you, Egberto. Over the weekend, it's a long weekend without you. So to the point you were making about the the undemocratic constitutions of our nation, like the Senate and the Electoral College. People understand, like, if you want to change what's undemocratic about this country, you have to work within the system. So,
Right.
unfortunately, we have the senators. One thing I feel like we could do is make the senators dissolve their power into one. So, in other words, they all act like little presidents, like Joe Biden said when it comes to legislation. Basically, make the House be the final rule and make them like what the super delegates are in the Democratic primary. That's a solution I have.
I mean, and again, all of that would work because it's also more democratic. It is, believe it or not, that is more democratic. No matter how you look at it. But thank you. I'm going to let you go, and I want to address something that you said very importantly about the transgender and the black transgender person. Well, let me just say it now. Here's the deal, because And this, I think I mentioned it. I don't remember if I mentioned it on my KPFT show or on another blog post. But what has happened over time is Trump and his allies have been racializing black folks, Latinos, and other folks. They have been racializing it, and they've been doing it in a very ingenious manner. And that ingenious manner is exactly what the transgender folks said, where he said, white people have helped me more than, let's say, black folks, etc., or Latino folks, or whatever, right? That isn't even the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is about Trump, not about white people. We look at our audience right here. Our audience is a majority white audience of great people. So what they try to do is change the subject, try to racialize the subject, and then install self hate. So, who do you get? The Candace Owens of the world, right? Candace Owen is out there telling black
Right.
folks, forget about what most black folks are doing by supporting the Democratic Party. Look at what you really need to do. She's getting paid to do it, but the others are going to get screwed if they do it. And the same goes with the transgenders, gay, white women. All these people are going to be screwed by what again? Project 2025. Because Project 2025 is a regression to what used to be an empowerment of the property owner. All right. And remember that. I want everybody to you can summarize all of this. When America was formed, I want everybody to understand this. The Constitution was a property document. When America was established, only people that owned property really had a say in America. So while we may look at it as a democracy, it never really was. When we look at it as a representative democracy, it never really was. Now, it's nice for the folklore to say it. Glory, glory, hallelujah. It sounds nice. We have been improving the women's march, the civil rights, the women's movement, all these things. Again, I made a document, not I, a group of us made a documentary with Move to Amend called Legalized Democracy. I want everybody to go to my website, egbertowillies.com, and in the search button, search for Legalized Democracy. It's a 28-minute documentary. And I think you guys are going to learn a lot from that. How we went from a country that was formed for the few, and we used at first the judicial system and the popular system to make it a more equitable system. It's important that you see that legalized democracy. What I tell you what, I'll find it. But anyway, anything else you want to say real quickly before we move on, my brother?
Well, between me and you, my brother Berto, our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and that's what we're here to flip around. So I'm gonna keep watching. I appreciate you giving me that space.
Thank you, my brother. And look, hang in there because all of us gonna work together. We are a great country of a bunch of different people, and we love each other. Thank you, brother. We'll talk another day.
All right, bro.
Bye bye. All right, folks. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to the blog post that I have with that program called Legalized Democracy documentary premiere Move to Amend. Bear with me one second as I find that. I'm going to put the link in there, and I'd like all of you who can to go ahead and watch this documentary that we created. I'm one of the executive producers on this particular documentary. There you go. I just put it in the chat. All right, let me continue with what you guys have to say before I go to the next video. Let's see what else we got here. Egberto for the screen. Is that yet another one, Bridge? Let's see. No, that one I think I put on the screen already. All right, so I guess I'm a little bit behind. All right, I'm continuing. Egberto, one more screen. Which one is this one now? Did I miss one? Let's see if I got that. No, I got that one as well. All right, I'm scrolling down, folks, to the commentary. I'm scrolling down. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, I read Bridges' meme as good old boy and frat fraternity networks hiring among their own. Exactly. Billy Allison Irwin, how are you doing, beautiful? Great to see. Oh, have COVID. so not making the morning show. Oh, Billy, I'm so sorry you have COVID. I hope you're drinking a lot of fluids and taking good care of yourself. Take those anti-inflammatories and just chill out. Love you, girl. You just get better quickly. All right, let's see. Peggy says, howdy, been thinking about the patriarchy and how these times are the same as those of the 60s and 70s. And may we add the formation of the country, sis. All right, we also have, let's see. Notice he said that he was not a Christian, but I want the Christians to vote for me. Oh, I could swear he said I am a Christian. I didn't know he said I'm not a Christian. I need to listen to it again. I thought he said I am a Christian. Okay, let's see. Trump finally admits he's not a Christian. Peggy heard it too. Okay. Wow, wow, I didn't even notice that, guys. I just thought he said I'm a Christian, but I heard it wrong. Okay. Arbri says, love how the Christian nationalists are boycotting the Olympics for what they thought was a soup Last Supper scene when it was a Greek themed party. So uneducated. You know what else is funny? They're willing to boycott the Olympics, which doesn't have any impact on their lives, but they're willing to make the most powerful person in the world be somebody who is a thief, who is who was convicted or was found liable for sexual assault, and a judge said he raped a woman, who stole money with a false university. They don't mind. The Christians and these evangelicals going to boycott that scene at the Olympics, but they won't boycott the guy who has broken just about every single commandment of the Bible. Huh? Funny. All right, from Paul Fleming says, under the tax plan proposed in Project 2025, it is estimated that a family of making about $100,000 a year would get a $2,600 tax hike, but a family of four making $5 million a year would get a $325,000 tax cut. It's a trickle down nightmare. No, it's a trickle up reality. All right. Let's see. Mockeries like this common. Just do a Google search for the Last Supper. Oh my God. You guys are just populating this screen with some good stuff. There is that supper that Michael Rudden wants on the screen. All right. Paul Fleming says, wait a minute. You're so mad at Kamala for the lie that she locked up thousands of black men. You'll vote for Trump when he said he'll give total immunity to cops. Got it. But not only that, you'll vote for Trump, who even after 5 guys have been proved not guilty, innocent of raping a woman in Central Park, he still won't accept his mistake after putting a full page ad that was very racialized. Again, the inconsistency is there. Look, you have to realize that those people that are voting for Donald Trump are telling themselves a lie because they do want to vote for Donald Trump. They said it's about their economy, but their 401ks are exploding. They say it's about wars, but Donald Trump just told Netanyahu, finish that stuff up. In other words, just kill these people and let's get it over with. They say it's about values. The guy, pull on women, crutches, etc. There is no reason that they are trying to give for voting for this guy. That if they look in their kids' eyes, if they look in their daughters' eyes, their sons' eyes, their sons and daughters can never take what they say seriously again. Because they just have to say, Mom and Dad, didn't you vote for somebody to run the rest of the country, to run the entire country and be the most powerful person in the world who actually grabbed women by their crutches, who actually stole? Didn't you vote for that? How then can you condemn me when I do something wrong, Mom? You see, or Dad? Again, there are consequences. There are real consequences for the soul of this country when you vote for Donald Trump. There are consequences when you vote for Donald Trump. And your kids, for those of you whose kids will know you would have voted for Trump, That will be inculcated in their minds forever, and you have destroyed those kids' soul. You have destroyed those kids' ability for wrong and right. That's what you would have done. All right. Bridge MCP says won't go anywhere but puts it out there for election. Joe Biden announces major plan to reform Supreme Court and acts presidential immunity. In his letter, the 81-year-old commander in chief vowed to prevent, to prevent abuse of presidential power and restore the public faith in our judicial system, and directly referenced the January 6th Capitol Hill riots to bolster his case. He said, if a future president incites a violent mob to storm the Capitol and stop the peaceful transfer of power, like we saw on January 6th, there may be no legal consequences. And that's only the beginning. And ethics of SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States. I want you all guys to understand these things because they're real. They are real. But most importantly, I repeat, anyone who votes for Donald Trump, you cannot look in your kids' eyes and ever again tell them to follow the rules, to follow the law, because you would have forfeited the morality. You would have forfeited their morality because they look up to you. And that's what you said. You were okay to represent this country. You know why we're going to win in a landslide? You know why Kamala Harris is going to win in a landslide? Because a lot of Americans are going to ask themselves that question. We can give an excuse for 2016, but we all know him now. So therefore, if you, any one of you who votes for Donald Trump, knowing all that he has done, and then, first of all, claim it's an economic reason. First of all, that's a provable lie that you can foot. We have the strongest economy in the world. It is much stronger than when it was at Trump's best time. We have even our inflation at this current state is about what it was under Trump. So let's be real here. If you're looking at today, relative to Trump's best time, in virtually all metrics, we are ahead. Don't listen to me. Look up the metrics. Look up the GDP. Look up the employment. Look at your 401k. Look at the stock market. Look at the things that the poverty level that we fixed that the Republicans are now trying to get rid of. Billy Allison says, I'm good. Thank you, hun. No fever, no major symptoms. I'm glad to hear that. Michael Rodney says, yes, listen to the video again. Trump said, I'm not a Christian as an admission. He made a mistake then. He made a mistake because he don't want to tell evangelicals he's not a Christian. He tell them he's a Christian all the time and he has a Bible. You know, it's amazing. All right. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Breach, that is one of the commentary from Michael Cisak that merits ignoring because it's there's no reality to it, nor will we teach the rest of America anything from refuting that particular piece of that thing. All right. What does the Democratic Party really stand for? High inflation? No, actually, we reduced it. On affordable housing? No, we're actually trying to do it within the capitalist model, right? But if we go ahead and put clamps down, the first thing you're going to say, socialist, lower wages, not true. Our wages are higher than under Trump. Higher violent crime, not true. Our violent crime was way up under Trump, and it's been going way down under Biden. Those are the actual facts, and that's what the majority see. No, that's what the majority have been lied to and try to see. But it's okay. Anyway, folks, let's go to our second video. Let's get some truths about the legacy of Joe Biden. Let's show some legacy of Joe Biden. And this is going to burn up poor old Mike Cisak. I love you, Mike. But here are the facts from a very sensible person. I don't always agree with him, but when I don't agree with him, it's fact-based. Today, my Journalism Award of Excellence goes to Fareed Zakaria. He did a piece describing Joe Biden's presidency like no other. And what is sad about it is, as we are in this campaign where Kamala Harris is running against Donald Trump, and the surrogates from Donald Trump are trying to tell Americans the bad state of the economy, the bad state of the Biden presidency, when they are trying to push that message, when the message is completely opposite to America's reality, it presents a problem. And journalists have not been doing their job in allowing a false balance, as our good friend Matthew Dowd had tweeted about recently. So let's take a listen to Fareed Zakaria, and then we'll take it on the other side. There are a couple of things that I disagree with, and it has more to do with the indoctrination of every single or the vast majority of Americans that we need to dispel. Let's listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
It's too early to write up the legacy of Joe Biden. The signature aspect of Biden's presidency has been his big break from decades of economic policy. For almost half a century, the federal government has refrained from any transformative long-term investments in the American economy. Even the large COVID payments were for consumption, not for investment. In fact, the defining fiscal policies of our times have been tax cuts. President Reagan, Bush, and Trump all enacted large tax cuts that broadly benefited the rich. The result has been an America that can be characterized by private opulence and public decay. $100 million homes in a country where the roads are scarred by potholes and children die at higher rates than any other country in the industrialized world. These tax cuts, by the way, along with spending on wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, are responsible for much of America's enormous federal debt. Biden changed this narrative. He used the resources of the federal government to make large investments in infrastructure, childcare, manufacturing, and energy. These investments will not pay off anytime soon. Many of them have just begun, but the U.S. is now undergoing the largest upgrade of its transportation infrastructure since the 1950s, with more than 56,000 projects already launched. It is seeing a boom in manufacturing investment and employment that reverses a decades-long trend. Green energy is booming. And for the year that it was in effect, Biden's expanded child tax credit helped reduce child poverty in America by 46%, moving a staggering 3.4 million children out of poverty in 1 year. The credit expired after a year, and congressional Republicans refused to renew it. Biden's measures helped trigger the strongest post-COVID recovery of any major economy. The U.S. has produced over 15 million jobs, the most ever for any president in one term. The unemployment rate stayed under 4% for over 2 years. That's the longest since the 1960s. Black labor force participation rates are now higher than of whites for the first time ever on a sustained basis, and so on. It's true that inflation surged, and while the pandemic played a role, so did an excessive infusion of cash into the economy, for which Biden must be held responsible. Overall, as former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers told Bloomberg TV, the record is remarkable. Summers added, "I don't think any administration has so outperformed economic forecasts on the day that it came into office." Biden gets almost no credit for this economic revival. Some of that is the lingering effect of inflation and the persisting crisis of affordability in areas like healthcare, housing, and higher education. But much of it, as I have long argued, is that we live in an age of cultural politics. The issue on which Republicans have been attacking him mostly is not the economy, but the border. The administration has strengthened America's alliance system in the Indo-Pacific. It has built new structures of cooperation and deterrence with Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, and others. All in all, it has handled the world well enough that surveys suggest that most countries rate the United States and Joe Biden much more favorably than they did under Donald Trump. The final legacy of Biden is that he has returned the presidency to an office of sanity, decency, and dignity, ushering out the dangerous demagoguery, anti-democratic rhetoric, and behavior that preceded him. But for that legacy to endure, And for Biden's term not to simply be a moment in time, he needed to ensure that the United States actually closes the chapter on Donald Trump. And to help make this more likely, he made the painful decision not to run for the presidency, which will also earn him a special place in the history books. Joe Biden has felt that he has been underestimated all his life. Judging by his tenure in the White House, he's right.
Farid nailed it. He nailed it about the economy. He nailed it about job participation. He nailed it about all these things that are the realities, right? But where he failed, the one part that he failed is when he made the statement that Biden has to take responsibility for the influx of monies into the economy that caused inflation. And where he's wrong in that respect is the following. The good that he spoke about, the reduction in poverty rate, we not going into a recession, the expansion in employment, all of that was caused by the influx of money into the economy. Absent the influx of money, those realities that he praises doesn't occur. That's why many times I speak about the engineering mind, causal and effect, and all these types of issues that folks need to take into account. Let's now define what caused inflation. Inflation, if you listen to the purity of economics, which we've never had, capitalism isn't a purity of economics. Capitalism is a fraud that actually maximizes profits for the few. And also it has no soul. It generates what we call cannibalism. In other words, as Milton Friedman, the god of capitalism, would say, don't worry about environment. Don't worry about people. Your sole responsibility is the maximization of profits for the shareholder and the bonuses for the executive. That's all that matters in capitalism. Now, what Farid did is he kind of bought into that idea when he attempts to say that inflation has something to do with Biden's policy. The reality is inflation was a choice by corporate America. And how do we know it's a choice by corporate America? Inflation is normally in a pure economic system caused by a shortage of product, a shortage of services. We can blame the pandemic for a short while for saying it created a supply chain problem, which means bringing products from China, bringing products from Vietnam, bringing products from everywhere into America had a blockage that created shortages, and for that prices went up. But then again, the blame for those supply chain issues isn't, again, the pandemic specifically. It is the short thinking, poor thinking corporate executive who, in order to maximize profits, stiffed the American people to manufacture overseas. And when the problems of supply come in, they still maintain their profit levels by stiffen the Americans again and charging them more. Inflation is not a government cause issue when there isn't a supply problem. Remember when oil prices went up? Oil prices went up not because we had a shortage of petroleum, not because of the Ukraine war. We always, and you know how we know that? Because even as we had the Ukraine war, Saudi Arabia decided that they were going to take 2 million barrels of oil per day off of the market simply to keep prices high. What is that called? Inflation. All right. Inflation was not caused by Biden's policies. Inflation was caused by corporate policies, and it is reflected in their economic statements that prove their profit went up proportional to the inflation rate and higher. These are statements of facts that are verifiable. So Biden is not to blame for inflation. Put in money. What if you were to accept that? It would say that Americans will never get a chance to go ahead, because as you put more monies into their pockets, the corporations, instead of saying, let's charge a fair price for our product and people can save their money for the future, they will say, we will do, and this is what is said in capitalism, whatever the market will bear. So if they have an extra $10 in their pocket, that gives the capitalist a reason to increase milk so that they can take away some money that these people already have in their pockets. Understand this, and we have to get away from the indoctrination. But as far as given the status of what Biden has accomplished, Fareed Zakaria did an excellent job. Sand that issue with inflation. And with respect to the border, he also says that is one of the issues, inflation and border, that Kamala Harris is going to have to take into account when talking about Biden's policies. Again, that has its genesis in U.S. policy for decades, starting before Clinton, even though Clinton was also partially responsible for a lot of that that large immigration from Haiti, because again, the rice policies, NAFTA, all these issues have, even though it may be beneficial for corporate America, it's the stuff that hurt workers not only in the United States of America, but all throughout Latin, South America, and around the world. So again, kudos, award to Fareed Zakaria for getting it mostly right.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join, folks. Absolutely join. Here's the other thing. It is important. One of the problems is that our schools have gotten so bad that that we don't teach how to teach yourself. We just indoctrinate. We don't teach people how to teach themselves. I recently had a conversation with a person with regards to minority rule, etc. And the person then started to say, "Oh no, what you're trying to do is create a minority." I said, "The tyranny of the majority." I looked at the person and said, "What do you think the first 10 commandment, the 10 amendments of the Constitution does? What is it called?" They don't know. This happened just, I think, on yesterday. What is it called? The first 10 amendments of the Constitution? They don't know. This is an American citizen. They don't know. I say, all right, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. What does that really do? Give you. I say, look, it's the part of the majority rules, but it's a part of the Constitution that prevents the tyranny of the minority. In other words, in our country, we define what we call inalienable rights. In other words, there are some rights that just because you're an American citizen and a human being that you have that cannot be taken away from you. As a human being, as a U.S. citizen, these rights cannot be legislated. These rights cannot be taken away with the majority vote or anything. That protects the minority from majority votes that can affect your rights. Everything else should be majority rule. Unfortunately, even under that context, because the Senate is not a democratic entity, we have pretty much given that up. What we have is not the tyranny of the majority. What we have is the tyranny of the minority. Check out the way our Senate works, etc. Hey, Bruce Pollard, how you doing, my brother? Great to see you here. Did I miss anybody else? Okay, I got one more video to put out, and then we'll be coming close to the end of the program. So here is the last video of the day. Donna Brazile really put former President or Vice President Pence's press secretary Mark Lauder in his place today when he first of all implied that somehow Vance, the new VP candidate for Donald Trump, is a family values guy, somebody who cares about families, and somehow even the arcane and weird statements that he makes about women needing to, or rather, families with children should pay less taxes, or in fact, families without children should pay more in taxes. When he makes a silly statement that women without kids are somehow defective, in their thought process, etc. My words to interpret what he's actually saying. Donna Brazile shows what has to be done as soon as they attempt these narratives. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I was just going to go to you on J.D. Vance, not only his abortion stance, which he said he wants to make it illegal all across the nation. We know Donald Trump has a different stand on that. But on abortion and on generally what he has been saying this week, he says that was a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago he made those statements. It was 2021. The cat lady is saying now, I was just trying to say the Democrats are anti-family and anti-child.
Wow. Well,
that's a lot. I just threw at you, Mark.
Well, yeah, J.D. Vance is obviously very pro-family, and he believes that the government should be strengthening families. And we're going to contrast that with Kamala Harris, who thinks the government, not parents, should be deciding where kids go to school. She actually wants to repeal the Trump tax cuts, which doubled the child care credit, made it more affordable for people. I mean, these are legitimate arguments that we're going to have. But if we're going to focus in on J.D. Vance saying families make people think differently. I mean, that's really what he was saying, is once you have children, once you have a family, you tend to view things a little bit differently than others.
And you should pay fewer taxes, Donna?
Even when you don't have children, you do care about kids. You care about their future. I've never had one child, and yet I think I can claim hundreds of them because I love them. I want to protect them. I want to help feed them. I want to give them a head start and a healthy start. And J.D. Vance is against that because that's what Project 2025. He won't give kids like me who grew up in poverty. He grew up on the wrong side of the hill. I grew up on the wrong side of the track. That's what Kamala Harris, she's going to prosecute that case about the kids who need a head start and a healthy start. So we're ready. This is beyond just abortion, which is an economic issue. It's a reproductive health. It's giving women access. The fact that my nieces right now are in red states, if they have a miscarriage, they'll bleed out and die before they get the health care they need. That's what this election is going to be about, and that's why Harris can prosecute it.
Now, it was great. One of the reasons you hear me continuously talk about landslides, irrespective of the current state of the polls. Remember, a poll is an instant in time. And my belief is that when people are about to hit that button inside of that booth, there are a lot of weight's going to be placed on their shoulders. Do I allow my 401k to fall because of my prejudices? Do I allow a worse state of life for my daughter because of my prejudices? Do I allow all these things because I just am prejudiced against XYZ, and because of that, I harm my personal economy? I don't think so. And I'll take you back to the Obama years when Obama shouldn't be president. I've spoken about that in other videos. But what Donna Brazile did today, reminding folks that women, whether they have born children or not, whether they're caretakers of children or not, they're caretakers of children, and they care about children. And that Vance says he changed his views because he is now a father, but still supports the policies of a Republican Party who is the antithesis of what is necessary for true family values and the existence of a whole family and economically viable family. She made the case. And when we talk about having a Kamala Harris who will be out there to make the case against Trump, to make the case against MAGA, to make the case against what the Republican Party is with regards to economics and social well-being and government policy and the type of government, they're now a fascist party, then that case will be made sufficiently well and the landslide will come. And the landslide will come. And I am still predicting a landslide for Democrats from the municipal level to the state level to the national level. Now, everybody that's listening to my voice now, it is up to you to get out there and make it happen. Start telling the story in a manner that relates to the person you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody with means, remind them that their 401k is that way not because of what Trump did, but because that Trump is no longer in power. We have to let people know. You talk to them in the language they understand. If you're talking to a Christian, remember to tell them that when their children see their vote for their vote for an accused rapist, a person found liable for sexual assault that a judge called a rape, for somebody who ripped his employees off, for somebody who grabbed women by their crutches. That's mama, daddy. Is that who you're voting for? Then mama, daddy, how can you tell me that I have to be good when that is who you have made the leader of the world? How can you justify telling me to follow the laws and be a law and order kid if you're supporting somebody that is the antithesis of law and order? Come on, folks. Let's make it clear to the Christians. Let's make it clear to the evangelical Christians. Most Christians wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. So let's make it clear. Okay? And there are a lot of people that just need to be awakened. We just have to make them woke. Don't allow them to make woke a bad thing. Don't allow that. Woke is a good thing. You're awakened. Last one, Breach has. Her meme is up. It says, next time you hear Republicans bitch about the border, remind them they are the problem. And on the screen, for those that are listening on podcasts, we show that the new border bill that was written by a conservative received 227 Democratic votes and only 2 Republican votes. 199 Republicans voted against it. Donald Trump told them we needed to keep this issue open for my campaign. And what it means, however, is that because using executive orders, Biden has been able to reduce the amount of people flowing into the country at a lower rate than when Trump left. It's a lower rate than when Trump left. And he needs, or Kamala needs to become president. She needs a Democratic Congress and a Democratic Senate to really continue fixing this country. Anyway, folks, if you are, I want to ask all of you to support the program however best you can. There are many ways to support the program. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/support. That has all the different ways in which you can support our program. politicsdoneright.com/support. You can also, if you want a direct link, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon to become a patron of ours. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. One of the things that I'd like to ask you is to please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. We have thousands of subscribers of our newsletter. Just a few of them, small percentage, are subscribers. We need over 1,000 subscribers. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please become a paid subscriber. Becoming a paid subscriber allows you to read every single one of my 5 books and any books that I subsequently write. And I have several of them in the queue right now. I haven't gotten many words put down right now because, again, this is an election season and there's a lot of work to do. But please consider, and by the way, if you want to get a hard copy of the books right now, you can just go to politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. But I'd love for you to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter if you have a wherewithal. It's like saying you're going to give us a coffee a month. It's like saying, I'll give him a coffee. I'll give him a coffee. I'll give Politics Done Right a coffee. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Thank you so kindly. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Please remember to share, and share. Like, retweet, retweet. Heart. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right,
I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.